Here we are at Rainbow Fly Shop today. We're going to tie a hot core bait fish. This is a neat little pattern. I think it's going to be a smoking pattern this summer for bass. Our hook's just a short shank circle hook or J hook, something to that effect. Thread, and this is the important part, monofilament, 006 or 008 size. Clear, black, whatever you can find. It's all just the same. But mono thread, because this is a synthetic material, and the mono just holds that synthetic material a lot better. We'll start it on right there at the eye, lay it on top of itself, all the way back to the bend of the hook. Almost. Not quite, but almost. That's close enough. You can't pop this thread lefty cray style because, well, you'll cut it. I'm going to take some white EP fiber, ice wing, ice fur, or whatever. We're going to tie it in as a tail. Now, as you can see with the length of the tube on my vise here, we're going to tie in a fairly long tail. We'll tie in one. What we do is we tie it pretty much on top, but we're going to let it roll a little bit around the shank some too. Just like that. Just give it 2 or 3 turns. Come in, trim it off. And then actually I'm just going to flip this back around because this end's kind of not all even. I'm going to lay it right on top and right in front of my last tie. Right there. And then I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to keep this one on top of the hook shank. 4 or 5 turns, nip that off. Now we're going to start on the core, the hot core part. One thing you can do to kind of help this stuff all blend together, as you can see it looks kind of choppy, just take a comb, this is an under fur comb, and brush that stuff, and see it'll kind of blend and fuse together and marry. We'll trim it later, but that's the better part of it there. Okay, here's where it gets different. This is our red. This is what we're going to use for the core. Again, this is just some red EP or ice fur or whatever. We're going to take this and we're going to measure about half the length of the tail, something to that effect. We're going to go ahead and trim that piece off, and we're going to tie it in hollow style. Okay? If you're familiar with any of the old Popovic flies, which there's some cool patterns, you're going to tie it in with the short butts going to the back, the long end going to the front, and pretty much all the way around the hook shank, just like that. 4 or 5 turns to lock it down. Then we're going to open it up, spread it out, take a hollow pin tube, and you can just push it back, just like that. Gets everything back and out of the way, and because of the nature of this stuff, it'll actually grab hold of itself, so you don't really have to hold it too much. And then just go right in front of it, and you're going to build a small little thread dam, just like that. Try not to actually wrap onto it, just a small thread dam like that. We're going to do this about 3 or 4 times. Again, about half the length of the tail. This will cover up that white and give us that hot color core. We try and keep this stuff fairly sparse. I mean, this is about half the size of a pencil here, piece that we're using, because we don't want a whole lot of bulk in the fiber itself. Again, pen tube, push it back, just like that, kind of stroke it around, get it where it wants to be, go right in front of your piece. A little thread dam, just like that. Then again, take half the length, nip it off, tie it in going towards the front of the hook again, try and spread it out there, going around it, the hook shank a little bit. You can do that just with your thumb like this, just by kind of pushing it and rolling it. A couple of loose turns around it, you can push it and roll it, get it all the way around. Then tighten your thread up. Give it a few turns to lock it. Pen tube, push it back, just like that. Thread dam right in front. Whoops. Chase, there we go. Thread dam right in front. This is our last piece. It's about the right length. I'm going to trim it just a little bit, tiny bit too long. turns, open it up. Sometimes I do it without the pen tube. It's not the best bet. I'm just a little too crazy. Get it all straightened up, get it back there. Now we're getting to our last little bit. It's all going to be tied, this last little bit's all going to be tied hollow style, but we want to just, get to that point. See, now we got this white tail, red core. Okay, that's the important part, core. Okay. Take a little bit of this light yellow color, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to go pretty much the length, almost the full length of this fly, like this with the yellow. Trim that piece off. We're going to tie it in on the bottom. We want to keep it on the bottom. This is just a baby bass kind of color combination. No real rhyme or reason to some of the stuff. Okay. Keep that on the bottom. Do a couple of wraps just to secure it. Then we're going to take some olive for the back of our baby bass. We're going to go about, again, almost the full length of the fly, maybe a touch long, because we're going to tie it this way and then fold it back. So I use the cut end so to uneven that and make it more natural. Just a couple of little swipes of the scissors and it looks all nice and pretty again. Again, directly on top of the hook shank, because this is going to go over the top of the fly. And then I'm going to take a real thin wisp of white here. I'll thin this down a little more yet. There we go. We want this core to show through well. I'm going to take this. Pretty much just cut that, again, the better part of the length of the fly. Put one on either side of the hook. One on the side closest to me. Going forward. One on the side closest to you. Going forward. Okay, now we'll take the green, and this I don't use the pen for because there's 4 different colors, 4 different pieces. I take it all and push it back. The yellow, I'm going to try and split it and go around the hook like that. I'll push all that back. It looks kind of funky right now. Then we go in front and we build our thread dam in our head a little bit right there, just like that. That looks nice. I'm going to go ahead and whip finish this off. Now it is really important when you're using monofilament thread because this stuff is slick on top of itself, but it holds these synthetic fibers so well. It's really important. I usually throw 2 whip finishes in here and then I put a little bit of super glue on it. The cool thing about mono thread is when you put glue on it, any kind of finish, for the most part, epoxy, stuff like that, it turns invisible and you can't see it. I'm not sure where my super glue went, so I'm not going to do it right now. But now, again, you can see way too much of the core, so we'll take this comb and we'll actually just brush through the fly here, and that'll open up these fibers, move them around a little bit, and it'll help to hide the core a little bit. We don't want to hide the core much because we want that core to show through really well. But there you go. You see how it kind of fanned out and it dimmed that core color down a little bit. Just like that. Now we're going to take our eyes. I just sent them flying everywhere when I grabbed that one. And our Zap-A-Gap gel, or some kind of acrylic super glue gel. Squeeze some out. Put a nice little blob there on the eyeball. And I turn them on their side because I can just see the profile better and guess where the eye should be. Put that eye on there, squeeze it down for a second, hold it, then let go. You see it kind of stuck to the hook shank itself through everything. Get you another eye. Put Put your little glob of Zap-A-Gap gel on it. Put it on the other side. And then I look at it from the top and then again from the front. Make sure I got them pretty well even. And squeeze it together. Whoops, that one just slid on me. Check it again. Looks good. A little bit of a squeeze. There you go. And there is a hot core baby bass. Hope you like that one. I think that one's going to be a hot one this summer. Lots of big fish going to fall to that.